Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. How you doing? Big fight coming up, man. The rematch. Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. Now, some people, I was surprised. There's only a handful. Didn't realize these two fought already. And I was like, yo, hold your horses. Stop taking it to the stupid. But it was early this year, I think it was April, Tottenham Stadium out in the UK, where Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn had, there aren't even words to describe the type of fight that they put on. 12 rounds of two guys. I honestly don't think there was anything else they could have done. Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn really got my respect, really got the respect of boxing fans and the boxing world as a whole. Eubank Jr. ended up winning 116 to 112 over 12 rounds, unanimous decision. There was no argument there. But there was definitely an emphasis on Conor Benn's effort and what he brought to the table. Because I'll be honest with you, not many people saw Conor Benn's performance coming. Absolutely amazing. But what's interesting about that fight is, according to CompuBox, Eubank landed 367 on 912 punches, 40%, while Benn landed 215 of 593, 36%. So basically you have Eubank Jr. throwing 300-something punches more than Conor Benn, which is just crazy. But when you break it down further, I just think Eubank's jab advantage was huge. 140 jabs landed against Conor Benn's 35, but Eubank was taller, longer, had more reach. So of course that was something that was going to show up. But then the power punches, Eubank landed 227 of 562 for 40%. Benn landed 180 of 456 at 39%. So still, not too far off in the power punches landed, but Eubank Jr. definitely, again, it wasn't too far off in power punches thrown. The jab really made the difference. Now, in the late rounds, the fight turned into a brawl. And I'll just tell you, both men throwing, both men landing power shots. But Eubank's superior rate and activity helped him win rounds consistently. And ultimately, I think that was the consensus, is that Eubank Jr. just managed to outwork Conor Benn. Now, from the stats and film, Benn had moments where he hurt Eubank Jr. badly, particularly mid-fight. He had some big-time success. He just couldn't sustain. He also seemed emotionally affected, overly aggressive early and at times on the ropes. Meanwhile, Eubank Jr., always cool as a cucumber, disciplined, showed ring generalship, showed the stamina and jab control. But that expanded gas tank is what really won Eubank Jr. that fight. So you say, okay, you say all of that to say what? I'm about to tell you. This came from running, boy. I'm thirsty. But for Conor Benn to win the rematch, first I want to say I do think he can win the rematch. I think Eubank Jr. gets the win. But if Conor Benn won, I would not be surprised. I just would not be surprised, man. Because he is concentrated, he's locked in, he's focused, and he wants to get the victory so bad. When it comes to the Benns against the Eubanks, it's 3-0. Eubanks have been whipping ass. But even Chris Eubank Sr. said that second Benn fight, he lost the fight. So depending on who you ask, it's 2-1. Depending on who you ask, it's 3-0. But this fight here, for sure, Conor Benn wants to get the victory. So I think he's got to make a few adjustments. Several key things. Jab and range control. Benn lost the jab battle badly. It was pretty horrendous. He's got to find ways to close the distance without absorbing those jabs. Maybe he should feint more, use some angles, head movement, and instead of just, being angry and aggressive and just rushing straight in. That's just bad medicine. Then he's got to sustain the pressure like he did last time, but he got to be smarter. In the first fight, Benn's pressure was genuine, but it was reckless. He must channel that aggression into controlled bursts rather than just wild swings and allowing Eubank Jr. to counter him and bing him. Then you got the body work and disruption. I mean, if he can get inside, he's got to go to Eubank Jr.'s body and disrupt his rhythm and everything. Eubank Jr. was able to work hard in the last couple of rounds, something he wouldn't have been able to do if Conor Benn could have taken away some of that stamina by working to the body, investing to the body early. Stats show Eubank's jab and power dominance. Ben has shown better body work potential in past fights. If he can work the body early, no kidding, man, Eubank Jr. could develop dead leg and reduce his jab effectiveness. So that's extremely important for Ben. But the most important thing to me, he's got to improve his defense, man, and ring awareness. You could see one guy was more familiar with being in the ring and utilizing all the ring real estate than the other guy. Ben was caught on the ropes. He just needs to be more disciplined in positioning, can't afford to get trapped and can't get on the ropes. And overall, a mindset reset. Ben knows he lost. He must fight not just for revenge, but for adjustment. He must avoid fighting emotionally. But then that's not how he fights. He's not really a calculated thinker. He just goes in there off of emotion. If he's thinking too much, you're going to give Eubank Jr. an opportunity to capitalize on those lows. And next thing you know, Conor Benn can get hurt worse in the second fight than he did in the first fight. So as far as him being too emotionally driven, that's what's made him so successful. But it looks like they're going to try to get him to temper that a little bit. But I'm telling you, I think they need to leave his ass alone when it comes to his emotion. That's just how he fights. Work on that stamina. If he can push hard every round for 12 rounds, he'll get to Eubank Jr. Can he finish him? I don't know. But he'll get to him. But if Ben can close the jab gap, he can avoid being on the ropes, use his pressure intelligently, he has a realistic chance of doing the business, man. Now, when it comes to Eubank Jr., look, let me tell you something. What should he do different? I don't know. I think maybe it's a matter of him maintaining. He achieved success in the first fight, so his blueprint remains pretty damn similar. But there are adjustments as he ages and Ben improves. The first thing he did was he brought on BoMac. That, of course, should make Conor Benn shake in his boots. Because BoMac is Crawford's trainer, and BoMac and his team have done amazing things with Crawford. BoMac and his team are now with Eubank Jr. Can't help but think all of the resources that Crawford has access to, that Eubank Jr. is going to have access to those resources as well, and they're going to put together the kind of game plan and preparation that when Eubank Jr. gets in there, he's going to have stamina out of this world, the weight cut's going to be easier, and he's going to get in there and be, no kidding, a machine. But he's got to maintain his jab dominance. The jab was a key weapon. Keep that statistical edge, keep Ben off balance. Then the conditioning and stamina. Given his age, 36, as of, I don't think he's 37 yet. But as of the fight, he was 36. And the weight issues, he missed weight by 0.05 pounds in the first fight, which was, crazy. But he got to ensure his stamina doesn't fade late rounds. And I do believe with BoMac working with him and all the resources that they have access to, Eubank Jr. is going to be just fine going into them late rounds. And making the weight cut is going to be much easier this time. But nonetheless, you got to avoid complacency. Winning the first fight can lead to under-preparation, which we know that shouldn't happen here. But with Ben seeking revenge, Eubank must treat the rematch as if he hasn't won anything yet, because Ben is going to bring the heat. You got to enhance power, finish instinct if possible. Eubank won every round statistically, but didn't stop Ben. If he can convert one or two moments into a bigger advantage, knockdown or stoppage, this rematch could become emphatically his. But it's going to be really on Eubank Jr. Then the mind game management. Eubank must handle the external drama, legal, promotional, weight controversies, and focus on performance. Eddie Hearn's already trying to start his shit, you know what I'm saying, with Eubank Jr. But Eubank Jr., his team already suggests Ben is already beat, which may add pressure to Ben to get in there and improve a point. But if Eubank can keep his jab alive, neutralize Ben's pressure, avoid weight/conditioning slips, he retains a strong advantage. And we just got to understand and discuss the impact for trainer BoMac in the coaching switch. One key variable in the rematch, Eubank Jr. has Brian BoMac as his head trainer. Same guy who worked with Crawford, and let me tell you something, it matters. It matters big time. BoMac brings a modern tactical mindset, experience in high-level fights, and ability to help refine defensive adjustments and ring IQ rather than purely aggression. The benefit for Eubank Jr., with Ben upgrading and the rivalry intensifying, this coaching switch could give Eubank Jr. the edge in preparation, conditioning, and adjustments between rounds, which is what Eubank Jr. is going to need. Now, for Ben, this raises the bar. Ben must expect a smarter Eubank Jr., not just a rematch of the first fight. Ben's team must similarly upgrade tactics to match the coaching upgrade opposite him. Thus, the trainer factor could be a decider. And that's not me being biased. That's just me being real. So, sit back and see what's going to happen here. Eddie Hearn, he's on Ben's side. He already starting the bullshit. Whenever Eddie Hearn and Eubank Jr. hook up, there's all kind of verbal jabs and shit going on. I know Eddie Hearn was trying to get at Eubank Jr. about losing his toenails and dehydration and different things Eubank Jr. was claiming that he suffered physically from the dehydration and getting ready for the fight. Eubank's camp raised concerns about Ben's activity levels, emotional control, and the training. McIntyre said Ben was already beat. Legal issues, Eubank Jr. missed the weight, had to pay almost $500,000 US to Conor Benn, which bought Conor Benn the fancy car that he has. So promotionally, the rematch has huge stakes. Family legacy, big crowd, Saudi global investment. But the drama that surrounds this fight could boost or it could damage the fight. If legal/weight issues persist, it may hurt the event's credibility, especially if Eubank Jr. is struggling somehow and Ben gets the victory. It's going to say, the whole event was a joke. Eubank Jr. shouldn't have fought, and it was a waste of time. Conor Benn doesn't get the credit he deserves in a fight where he should receive a lot of credit if he got the victory. And I just think the winner must navigate not just the opponent, but the bullshit narratives surrounding them in the fight. So you say, okay, we hear you, but what's at stake for the winner and the loser? I just think guys going on to global crossover status. Either man, depending on who wins, either man can become a headlining act. Could get Canelo Alvarez. As far as the legacy, the rivalry is historic. Securing it could propel the winner into boxing folklore. And commercial opportunities, of course, you're going to maybe have some pay-per-view opportunities, global venues, possibly a move to a bigger weight class for Eubank Jr. if he wins. Conor Benn may stay there. You just don't know. But for the loser, it's just going to be them going into a reconstitution phase. Damage to the reputation, losing the adjustment, market value drop, fewer offers for big names, opportunity costs, rematch window may close. So the loser is just in bad shape. The winner goes on to bigger and better. Now, can either man reach beyond each other? Look, it depends on how they perform. You know what I'm saying? If Ben wins emphatically, he could leapfrog into bigger names, perhaps world title fights or global crossover events. If Eubank wins, again, convincingly, he might move into major territory, world title mega fight shit. He may get Canelo. But if either loses, they might be stuck in the rivalry guy type category, you know what I'm saying? Rather than going on to elite status, which it sounds like that's what both of them still want. So the rematch is a gateway fight. Win, and you may take a major step forward. Lose, and you risk staying in the same tier of falling behind. So in conclusion, the Ben versus Eubank Jr. rematch, to me, is more about, I think it's more than just two fighters, settling a score. It's about who makes the bigger rise, who adapts smarter, who wins brain and brawl. Conor Benn must improve his jab defense, intelligence in fight. Eubank's got to maintain that discipline, conditioning, smart strategy, train to switch promotions, weight and mind games. It just adds layers to this competition. The rematch isn't just for revenge, it's for legacy, for opportunity for the next big leap. That's exactly what I think you're going to get when these two get in the ring. Who Justin wins? I don't know. But I think Eubank Jr. going to get that victory. To be honest with you, I want to see both of them win. I really do, but I just think Eubank Jr. is going to do the business. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.